Well, hello, and welcome to the PGH Writing Command Center for another podcast episode from God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC. Woohoo! And I am Paul John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC. I am the flagship author, chief photographer, music reviewer, music critic, do-everything guy here at God Bless the Keg Publishing, LLC. We had a little help from the friends, and the friends are all gathered here for this special 4th of July holiday episode. Yes! And yes, we always try to do these special holiday episodes, and ironically, the 4th of July lands on a weekend anyway. So I'm recording this on the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day, everyone who is celebrating out there across the whole world. And I have an interesting bunch of trivia that I'm going to talk about in a little while. But I'm going to mention one of them ahead of time because I say across the world because in the country of Belgium, they actually have a parallel July 4th celebration for American Independence Day. How about that? That's, I didn't know that. And I didn't know a lot of these little tidbits. But anyway, before we get too deep, I really hope you're having a safe and enjoyable 4th of July here in Central Virginia, where I'm recording this. Of course, I complain about the summer all the time and the heat. But in all seriousness, the heat is very, very intense this weekend here and across quite a few areas in America. And it's serious stuff. Yesterday was on my little weather station guy. I thought he would blow his stack, the little weather man who comes out on the screen. Yeah, I was trying to give him a drink of lemonade or something or a cold beer because it reached 106 on my little weather station, a heat index of 122. So no joke, they canceled a lot of fireworks and a lot of outside events and parades and things because of the intense heat. And I know a lot of people are disappointed, but it's better to err on the side of safety. That's some extreme conditions. So you can watch the fireworks on the TV, right? It's not the same, I know, but best to err on the side of safety. But if you're a first-time tuner-inner, then welcome. If you are a long-time listener and a subscriber, then welcome back. And we're just thrilled you're here to join us here today. So happy 4th of July and celebrate very carefully. If you light some fireworks, be careful. We're going to talk about fireworks, famous old man story. But at any rate, that's enough of the old preacher-rooski there, Paulie. And if you want to get your little orphan Annie decoder pins out, I'm going to get all this stuff in the background, and I have all this stuff today. Oh, where is everything? Oh, here it is. So get your little orphan Annie decoder pins out. Even though it's the 4th of July, we can still celebrate, Christmas in July. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Corporate Facilities Group Incorporated, the leader in technical consulting, facilities maintenance, facilities management, and operations, as well as property maintenance and management services throughout America. And now, CFG Incorporated is proud to announce a new department, a new initiative, headed up by the amazing Mr. Steve McMillan. Let's give it up for old Steve Aruski. We love Steve. Yeah, Steve brings as many years of experience as he manages pre-construction services and estimating for residential development, residential renovations, and light commercial projects for CFG Incorporated. So before you spend big bucks on a project, let old Steve Aruski check out the contractor scope and price to make sure your hard-earned money is going in exactly the right place. Check them out on the web at www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. That's www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. And many thanks to Lydia, Steve, and Lily, Anna, Summer, the dog, and Smokey, the kitty cat at CFG Incorporated in beautiful Marietta, Georgia, for sponsoring the podcast. And happy 4th of July to everybody at CFG. And I would like to thank everyone who wished my dear mom a happy 92nd birthday. I did have quite a few people tell me personally who listened to the podcast last week, send in some birthdays via text and via email, and I really appreciate that. What I'm going to do is I have another card here. So I've been signing all these folks' name and putting it on the card, and we're going to send it to Dear Mom. So she'll really get a kick out of that. And thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate all the kind comments about the Ted Lasso episode, because it's been very, very popular. One of the most popular episodes we ever recorded. And one reader said they really appreciated the amount of research I do for the rated series and the deep dives. And they could tell I take it seriously and spend a lot of time. And we do. Jeff the Musical Wizard, the great Frankie T, the musical encyclopedia, the world famous Frankie T. We do take the rated series very seriously, and there is a lot of research involved. So thank you for recognizing that. We really appreciate that. Thank you. If you have any comments, suggestions, you want to yell at us, you want to say thank you, you want to send in a goodwill charity, not-for-profit event that you would like Paulie to announce on the air here, the email address is godblessthekegpublishing@gmail.com. godblessthekegpublishing@gmail.com. And we appreciate any emails we receive. And I've been saving this one that came in from a buddy of mine for the 4th of July special podcast. Fallenpatriots.org is a not-for-profit organization that provides college, and this one's near and dear to my heart, provides college trade school scholarships. I love that. Yes. Being a product of trade school myself, educational and assistance for career support to military children who lost a parent in the line of duty. A very, very worthwhile organization. If you want to check them out and donate a few dollars to the fallenpatriots.org, providing college, trade school scholarships, educational assistance, and career support for military children who lost a parent in the line of duty. Fantastic organization. I love that. Checked it out myself, and we're going to send them a few $rooskies for the bank account. So 4th of July, right? Wow, Independence Day, my favorite holiday for many reasons. I think because of the memories associated with it. And the old man, my old man, he loved the 4th of July. And he loved Christmas too. But I think the 4th of July was secretly his favorite. I really do. He had a famous quote, and I'm going to do it from my mind. I know I put it in the books, or maybe it's in experiences somewhere, but he had a famous quote, and he said, "The great thing about the 4th of July is it's a holiday where the little guy gets to celebrate kicking the big bully's backside. And then we get to drink beer. We get to cook questionable meats over a fire, and then celebrate everything in a big wrap-up by blowing stuff up." And that about sums up the old man's love of the 4th of July. So we're going to tell a quick old man story at the end of this podcast. And I usually try to keep the holiday podcast a little shorter. I'm not sure I'm going to do that today, but I'll do my best because I know people are celebrating, doing other things. And I have some other things I'm doing here today, too. I have the ham radio event, which is my favorite, absolute favorite ham radio event, is you get on the air and try to contact all 13 of the 13 original colonies. And I just enjoy that so much. It started way back in 2006 with a fella, Kilo Uniform 2, Uniform Sierra. Yeah, KU2US. And that gentleman has passed away, and this event this year is dedicated to him. So he had this vision of a special event, and they have special event stations for all kinds of things. There's a lot of special event stations on the air from the World Cup locations in North America. Ham radio operators getting on the air, and generally, if you send them, some stamps or a self-addressed stamped envelope or something, there's special QSL cards or there's special certificates you can get in relation to the 13 Original Colonies special event. There's a beautiful certificate this year. They're always gorgeous certificates and great artwork, and you send them a donation and and an envelope, and they send you the certificate. You got to fill out a form and all that. But at any rate, this year's the 250. Of course, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. So it's a beautiful certificate. But generally, you contact these special events and they have special cards or they have special certificates. So there's a lot of special events. But this one was envisioned by this gentleman years ago. And I've participated in it pretty much every year since its inception. And it's just a blast, and that's how I celebrate my 4th of July, in my air conditioning here at the Writing Command Center at radio station Whiskey Alpha 2 Alpha Sierra, Quebec. So we've been on the air for, it originally was very difficult to do because of propagation and radio and all that. See, I'm drifting already. I'm going Gene Shepherd on you. I'm so sorry. But I'm so passionate about this. And originally it was very difficult because the propagation, when you're on the East Coast, the stations are kind of close to each other. And you got to select the proper frequencies that can give you those proper distances. So me being here in Virginia on the air, of course, Maryland's very close, and Virginia itself is difficult. I finally got them last night because the stations are just very close to each other geographically. So it makes it a little difficult, and you have to use some strategy, and I love that. And so far we have, we have 10 of the colonies contacted on Morse code. And that's another difficult thing because Morse code operators are getting few and far between. We're dinosaurs. And I always like to use the Morse code. So we've got 10. We're still we're hunting for Delaware. We're hunting for New Hampshire and the elusive Rhode Island. Last year, I got Rhode Island right away. There was a CW operator, Morse code operator on, and he was just singing beautiful songs, and he was just working stations right and left. This year, it's like the desert. I can't find him, but we'll persevere. And it used to be just 24 hours on the 4th of July itself, and now they've extended it because it's such a popular event. It actually started on the 1st of July, and I believe it ends on the 6th of July, I believe. So I got some time yet. But if you want to check it out on the web, you just, in your search bar, just type 13 Original Colonies Special Event. It's a .org. It's a not-for-profit that runs it now, and it'll come up on the air. You can check out the certificate and some of the stuff. Really cool. So that's keeping me very busy this holiday weekend, of course. Doing a podcast, and we're listening to music. Jeff, the musical wizard, gave me a bunch of CDs to work through, so I'm working through those guys. And of course, it's summertime, so we listened to the Electric Light Orchestra. So we were rocking out very early this morning. The neighbors now have heard the very best of the Electric Light Orchestra, and I'm sure they appreciate it here. Because I had to have something to do. You see, I had to have something to do because Taylor Swift got married yesterday. Congratulations to Taylor Swift and, what's his name? Mr. Kelsey, right? And I waited and waited and waited for my invitation, and it never came. Yeah, every day I was like the kid in the Christmas Story running to the mailbox for my little Orphan Annie decoder pin, and it never came. At least he got his little Orphan Annie decoder pin, and I didn't get an invitation to the big wedding. I can't understand it, but it might be that Taylor, she might have found out that I refused to do a rated series on her music. Anyway, so I had to have something else to do since I guess I'm not considered an A-lister. I told Frankie T, I think I'm up to Y. I'm a Y-lister. But this might have set me back to a Z-lister because it was very disappointing. But at any rate, so I do have some really cool trivia about Independence Day because it's quite fascinating, this holiday. So let me get those notes and for you trivia buffs out there. And, you know, Jeff the Musical Wizard is a musical wizard, but he's also a trivia wizard. I have to ask him how many of these guys that he actually was aware of. All right, so here we go with really cool trivia about the 4th of July, Independence Day. The real Independence Day is July the 2nd. Continental Congress actually voted to declare independence from Great Britain on the 2nd of July, 1776, but formally approved the wording of the document 2 days later on July 4th. Only 2 people signed on July the 4th. Contrary to popular belief, John Hancock and the secretary, Charles Thompson, were the only 2 men who signed the Declaration of Independence on the official date. The other 54 delegates signed it later, most of them signing on August 2nd. I didn't know that. Written because you always see the picture and you kind of figure that all that happened on Independence Day. Written by committee. Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration, but he was assisted by a committee of 5, including John Adams and Benjamin Franklin. Founding fathers died on the same day. This one I knew. In a historic coincidence, both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the only 2 signers who later became United States presidents, died on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. They died on July the 4th, 1826. That's really a coincidence. Massive hot dog consumption. I have to admit, I'm going to have hot diggity doggers for dinner tonight with a couple cold brewskis. Americans are expected to eat about 150 million hot dogs over the Independence Day holiday weekend alone. I thought these things were bad for you, right? 150 million. Well, Paulie's going to contribute to that, so I'm sure a lot of other people are. The Liberty Bell tradition, of course, in Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And there's a special station during the 13 original colonies, Whiskey Mike 3, Papa Echo November, William Penn. So that call sign is at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and I've contacted that. So yay, all right. So the Liberty Bell there, to celebrate Independence Day, the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia is tapped, not struck, because of course it's cracked, 13 times in honor of the original 13 colonies. It took many decades to become a paid holiday. Congress initially made Independence Day an unpaid federal holiday. Boo! In 1870. It wasn't until 1938 that it became a paid federal holiday for all federal employees. And of course, fireworks have been a centuries-old tradition. Everybody uses fireworks, but fireworks had been used to celebrate America's independence since 1777. With the country now spending an estimated $15 billion on displays every year. At 70 years old, Benjamin Franklin was the oldest signer of the Declaration of Independence, while 27-year-old Thomas Lynch Jr. was the youngest. Many places in America are named Liberty. There are at least 33 places in the United States that include the word Liberty in their official names. That's pretty cool. The designer of the 50-star flag lived in Lancaster, Ohio. This is a great story. In 1958, a history teacher assigned a class assignment to redesign the national flag as both Alaska and Hawaii neared statehood. They were about to join the Union. Robert G. Heft, who was 16 at the time, designed a new flag using the old 48-star flag and $2.87 worth of blue cloth and white iron-on material. He submitted to his teacher. And that poor kid, he only got a B-. He got a B- from the teacher. and he disputed the grade, so he challenged it, and he sent it to Washington, D.C. to be considered by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. According to his obituary, Heft was one of thousands to submit a flag design, but he was the only person who actually stitched together a flag and shipped it to Washington, D.C. And his flag was selected. And the teacher corrected his grade to an A. I guess so. It's unbelievable. His design became the official flag in 1960. I had no idea. So congratulations to Robert G. Heft, a 16-year-old kid. Wow, that's amazing. There's something written on the back of the Declaration of Independence. A simple message is written upside down across the bottom of the signed document that reads, Original Declaration of Independence, dated 4th of July, 1776. No one knows who wrote this or when, but it was believed to be added as a label during the years of the Revolutionary War, when the parchment was frequently rolled up for transport. And I think General George Washington actually carried an original copy at one time. This one hits close to home. One signer of the Declaration of Independence later recanted the Declaration of Independence. Boo! And he's from New Jersey, Richard Stockton. What? Come on! What are you doing here? A lawyer from New Jersey became the only signer of the Declaration of Independence to recant his support of the revolution. After being captured by the British in November 1776 and thrown in jail. After years of abusive treatment and his recanting of loyalties, Stockton was released to find all his property destroyed or stolen by the British. His library, one of the finest in the colonies, was burned to the ground. Wow. The Declaration of Independence was written on a laptop, not a modern laptop, but Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence on a writing desk that could fit over one's lap. The device was referred to at the time as a laptop. On the second anniversary of Independence Day in 1778, American troops were fighting the American Revolutionary War. During this time, George Washington ordered a double ration of rum for American soldiers to celebrate the holiday with. Now, that's a general we can all relate to. Yeah. This is my favorite, and don't judge me. Before signing the U.S. Constitution in 1787, George Washington and 54 delegates gathered at Philadelphia's City Tavern for a farewell party. The 55 attendees drank roughly 100 gallons of alcohol, racking up a bill of £89, the equivalent of over $15,000 today. The staggering tab included 54 bottles of Madeira wine, 60 bottles of claret, 22 bottles of porter, 12 bottles of beer, 8 bottles of whiskey, 8 bottles of hard cider, and 7 large bowls of alcoholic punch. In addition to this legendary drink list, and the bar tab actually still exists. It's like preserved for history. Hangovers must have been incredible. They confirmed the bill covered dinner for 55 guests, but also the fees for broken glassware. Yeah, if you drink enough like that, you're all busted stuff, and meals for musicians and servants. That's fantastic. Congratulations to those 55 delegates. I mean, they made history, so the least they could do was celebrate. Fantastic. So here's some amazing trivia associated with the 4th of July and Declaration of Independence. And it's just one of those days, and being the 250th anniversary, I guess it's an extra special celebration. I know up in D.C., few miles north of where I am now, it's going to be very, very hot. So that's a little difficult, and too bad that this tremendously offensive heat dome, they call it a heat dome, settled in on this area for the 4th of July, and that's a little rough. We don't want anybody getting sick out there. And as I mentioned, the 4th of July was my old man's favorite holiday. And of course, last year, and I just listened to the podcast from last 4th of July, and we told this famous story based upon quite a bit of truth and maybe a little embellishment. And it comes from a short story collection, the summer collection. It's called Hot Coals and Sparks, about when the old man accidentally blew up the garden shed in our backyard with a little assist from clumsy cousin Pat, who tipped over the grill. And you can listen to that podcast. It's still on the rolls, so you can download and listen to that. And that's based upon a true story. And a little bag of fireworks got put in a garden shed, and the old man thought it was safe until those hot coals came. But a famous event in the old neighborhood. But there were other famous events in the old neighborhood associated with the 4th of July. And when it came time to do this podcast, I thought about it. I looked at some of the old stories, and I remembered some great memories. And there's something about, I guess it's pure Americana. Yeah, I know the heat has canceled a lot of celebrations, but in other areas of the country, I truly hope, I really do hope that there still are the old-fashioned 4th of July celebrations. Are there? I'm sure there are. The parade in the center of town, everybody waving flags and going down Main Street, USA, and the marching bands and the fire department and the police department and the military veterans and the local veteran organization these old guys dressing in their old uniforms and marching around in the heat. And then, of course, how many millions of hot dogs on the grill, and the chicken on the grill, and the hamburgers on the grill. And then you cap it all off with patriotic music, and everybody's got a flag on their porch. And then you blow stuff up with the fireworks later on. And that's the vision that I have for the 4th of July. And I've got my little flag out here at the Writing Command Center, and I hope you do too. And I hope that vision is still out there somewhere. I don't know. And I don't know of any parades around here. There are fireworks. Those were canceled. But I just don't know that vision in my mind actually still exists. And I marched in a lot of 4th of July parades, wearing my uniform. And then as a Little League guy, the Little League baseball teams would march in the parades up the streets in the borough of Haledon, up Belmont Ave. And the fire department and Mr. Porter would lead the American Legion with the march, and all the military buddies, and we'd all get out there in our baseball uniforms and march up the street. And I hope those things still exist. I don't know. I just don't know. But the great Gene Shepard, my radio mentor hero, always told this fantastic story every 4th of July. Some of my greatest memories, and I'll tell that story of a date that Harry and I had for the 4th of July that almost went awry. But we would go down to the borough of Hawthorne, and the Hawthorne High School, they'd have the fireworks display. And that was about the biggest display around. There was one in Hinchcliffe Stadium in Patterson. And of course, I lived on Wayne Ave, and the stadium was right in back of our literally in our backyard on the other side. And we'd sit on the porch and watch the fireworks go up over the stadium, and over the Great Falls, they'd have fireworks. I have to look that up, see if they still do that, since it's now a national park. So those were fantastic. And Rose Street Fields years ago, this is for the old Haledon folks, had firework display. So I think the cost of them and the insurance and all the other things chiseled away at that. And I know Yankee Stadium had fireworks last night, and the Yankees finally won a game, which is another subject. But so that traditional celebration, but the great Gene Shepard had a famous short story, Ludlow Kissel. And I'm going to change the name a little bit because Shep wrote this a long time ago. So I'm going to be less offensive than Shep on the original title. So you can look it up, but it's Ludlow Kissel and the firework that struck back. And Ludlow Kissel is a famous guy in the neighborhood where Shep grew up in Indiana. And he's the town drunkard. He's almost a parallel to Cliffy McWhiffy in my stories in the old neighborhood. And I think Ludlow's probably based upon an actual nonfiction character, as is Cliffy. And every neighborhood seemed to have one. And Ludlow comes at the end of the 4th of July, and he's been at the bar getting tanked all day, and he comes wandering down the street with this gigantic skyrocket. He's half in the bag. But my story has some parallels, and I didn't know. We would sit on the hood of our cars, and the great WOR radio in New York City. And Shep would come on. And sometimes he actually was in the studio on the 4th of July. And other times, I think it was recorded, And he would read that story, Ludlow Kissel, from his book. I think it's from, oh, goodness, it might be from In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. Or it might be from Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories, the Ludlow Kissel 4th of July story. And there was nothing like sitting there on the hood of your car watching the fireworks, and we'd turn up the radio to hear Shep telling this famous story, and it's just fantastic memories. And they'd play some patriotic music and things like that. I think it was the old WPLJ, Whiskey Papa Lima Juliet in New York City. Was an FM station, and they'd switch from rock and roll to just playing patriotic music for the fireworks display. And you could listen to the music and watch the Macy's fireworks at the same time, and the music would coincide. So at any rate, so those are great memories. But I told the story last year of how the old man blew up the garden shed. And every year, he was never the same when the state of New Jersey banned fireworks. I think secretly the old man had a little pyrotechnical problem, and he liked to blow stuff up, and he liked to set some stuff on fire too, other than our grill. But at any rate, he just loved fireworks. And we all love fireworks. My sister Dottie, to this day, always has a little firework. I have some sparklers. That's about all I have here. But I have the memories. And I have those joyous memories, and I can always rewind them and play them. And in the summer collection, it's kind of like Shep did with his short stories. They're all lumped together. And yes, there's the famous garden shed, and yes, there's the going to Jersey Electronics to buy the transformer for our TV that blew up, fixing it himself, and all the sparks associated with that. We had numerous celebrations. And there's fans in the house. We had no air conditioning, and it's not as hot as it is this weekend, thank goodness. But it was hot back then in New Jersey, and the old man would set up these strategic fans all over the place. We'd have so many fans you could trip on them if you weren't aware of where the cords are. And I do have a little fan blowing on me today, so if you hear a little background hum, that's my fan. I can't stand it without my fan. It's just so hot, even with the air conditioning. So you'll have to, I hope the noise reduction takes care of it. But great memories, just great memories of the 4th of July. And we'd invite people over for the barbecues and everything. But one of the things we did do was watch the fireworks on the TV. The New York City, the Macy's display or whatever. They'd always have fireworks. Channel 9 would have them. Channel 11 would have them. And we had a black and white TV. So I'm never really too sure that we got the full effect of the fireworks watching it on the TV. And the old man strategically always could find fireworks, even after they were banned. It's a New Jersey way of life. And I told the story of the guy selling the fireworks out of the trunk of his car. But every year, the old man would come with a stash of these fireworks, which were technically, of course, illegal. And I can still see him always in that brown paper bag. And in the old neighborhood, we could buy anything. These guys would pull up at baseball fields and open up the trunk and yell to us when we were playing sandlot ball. Hey, you Dopey's kid, come over here. You need baseball gloves, you need baseballs, you need bats, you need spikes, we didn't have any money, so we were losers. Hockey, you could buy street hockey equipment, you buy basketball, sneakers, whatever. It's a way of life in New Jersey, these peddlers that go around. And you never ask where they come from. But fireworks was something the old man always managed to come up with. He spent his beer money on it. So this particular year, he had a stash of bottle rockets. And He loved all different types of fireworks, but after the famous garden shed incident, he tuned down the explosive content. the M80s and the ash cans were a little too much. And he'd have one or two zingers in there, but he liked the little tanks that rode around and they'd shoot little fireballs out the little turret. Those were a favorite. But bottle rockets, you couldn't beat bottle rockets for aerial phenomena. Thrills, those are the fireworks. They look like a firecracker, a little bit bigger, and they're on a red stick, and they have the little fuse guy coming out, and you put him in a beer bottle. The old man would have an excuse to have beer. He needed bottles for his bottle rocket celebration, and he'd dig them in the ground a little bit, and take the heel of his boot and make a little impression in the lawn, and he'd stick the bottle rocket in there. And you shoot it up, and it'd go up pretty high in the air, and bang, it had it was a low, I guess, cheap, but big bang for your buck type firework. So he'd always buy a whole pack of them. And I could see there must have been maybe 100, maybe 150 in this big giant roll with all rubber bands around it. And so there's one year he was obsessed with bottle rockets, and he had a big stash of bottle rockets. And he also had two real zingers. He gave up on the big skyrocket after the garden shed. And he had one of those like mini skyrocket guys, which is a step up from the bottle rockets. The skyrocket really goes up and it's a real aerial effect, and bomb, 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 and different colors come out. Very dramatic. But those were expensive. So the old man only had a couple of those. So this one year, because the fireworks were always on these, what the old man called the weird channels, Channel 5 in New York on the VHF frequencies, Channel 11, Channel 9, and Channel 13 were always hard to get. You couldn't get them with your, as he called it, his aerial. And the Yankees were on Channel 11, WPIX, and the Mets were on WOR, Channel 9. So the main channels were CBS on 2, and NBC was on 4, and ABC was on 7. So those were the shows that my mother liked. So the old man would try to get the antenna oriented. This is a whole process. People don't realize now. You just turn the streaming thing on, and there's your TV channels. I still use an antenna here because I'm a dinosaur, but getting the signals was difficult because you had an antenna on your roof. And some, being in northern Jersey, the majority of the stations came from the Empire State Building, later on the World Trade Center. But so you got to, get over to Manhattan with your Yagi antenna and point the end towards the stations. But the weird channels came out of Newark. So there you go. You're a little south and a little different. So there was a whole process of adjusting the antenna so you didn't have ghosts, which were the images, or you didn't have snow, which is like the little pixelating because of the weak signals. And my mom, dear mom, loved the soap operas, which were on Channel 4 and Channel 2. And so most of the main TV shows that they watch were on those channels. But the firework guys would be, and the Yankees were on Channel 11. So he want to watch the ball game, turn the TV on. You got to wait for it to warm up. These are the tube days. And sure enough, because of the heat and the signals and propagation in the summer on the VHF, he'd have ghosts, which is a whole different thing. And he'd say, oh, man, we got to go on that roof and adjust the antenna. Get the walkie-talkies. And me being a radio kid, even as a dopey little kid, I was probably 12, 13 at this time, I get my walkie-talkies out. Because before walkie-talkies, it would be a relay system. Because we climb out Gramps' bedroom window to get to the lower roof where the antenna was. And he'd climb out, and then Gramps would be in his apartment at the window. And then my sister would be at the top of the stairs. And then Mom would be at the bottom of the stairs. And Paulie would have to watch the TV. So the old man he'd climb out on the roof, loosen up the mounts on the antenna, and he'd turn it a little bit, How's that? Gramps would relay to my sister, and my sister to Mom. And then I'd be like, The ghost is gone on channel 11, but it's worse on channel 9. And there's snow on channel 2. And they relay it back up through the chain of relay all the way. So the walkie-talkies were a great innovation because they everybody, the relay system was slow. And now it was instant, So we get the walkie-talkies. The old man climb out the window. Gramps, thankfully, he didn't have to participate in the relay anymore. And the old man would loosen the bolts, and he's turning the antenna a little bit, And I was like, okay, that's good on channel 11, Dad. Channel 9 has got a little ghost, but it's not too bad. All right, check channel 2 and channel 4. So I checked those. I said, a little bit of snow on channel 2. So we move it a little bit more. And finally, we'd come to like an agreement. You never got the signal 100% because it came from different geographic locations, but we get it good enough that he could watch it on channel 11 without the ghosts, and that's the fireworks. And me being a radio guy and a fairly tech-savvy guy, I always suggested that we get one of those rotator motors. Those rotator motors would do this. And you turn the little knob, Hoosie, and a little motor moved the antenna for each channel you wanted. The old man didn't want nothing to do with that. First of all, he secretly loved to climb out on the roof. And second of all, that costs too much money. I'm not spending money on that. We didn't have too much extra coins back then, but that would have solved this whole process. But at any rate, so the old man's up on the roof, and I hear these bangs, bang, bang. And I key the walkie-talkie. I was like, what's that, Dad? And the old man didn't answer right away. And then he comes back. He says, you can't believe this, Paulie. These guys over here on Temple Street, Temple Hill, in the books it's called Tilted Hill. But Temple Street was a famous hill. It was like the hill of death that went from the lower part where the river was, Passaic River in the city of Patterson, all the way up this treacherous hill. Nobody would make it in the wintertime. And our Rambler barely could, going down was no problem. Coming back was an issue. Barely have enough power to get up the hill. We go about 5 miles an hour. And was right over, like on the other side of the restaurant, our backyard, Burhans Ave. And these guys are shooting these bottle rockets. And they're blowing up right above our house in the restaurant. And the old man's like, I wonder if they could see me on the roof, these guys. These bums are shooting at me. So he says to me, go get me a bottle. Go get me a beer bottle. And get me a bottle rocket and a book of matches. I was like, Dad, you're on the roof. He's like, yeah. It's the point of the thing. I think they're shooting at me. So I go fishing around the back porch where there were empty beer bottles. And then I grab one of his bottle rockets from his stash, not in the garden shed, and a book of matches. And my mother's looking at me. I was like, don't ask. And I go up to the apartment and climb out the window and hand the stuff to the old man. The old man lights the fuse and shoots it up, and boom! He sends an aerial missile back over to Temple Street to where these bums are shooting at. And sure enough, boom, another one comes back. So the old man's like, go get me 5 or 6 of them. So I got to go back and get the stash. And now we have an aerial warfare assault going on in the late afternoon between these guys over on Temple Street and the old man. And they're shooting bottle rockets back whenever we shoot at them. So the old man had he had that big skyrocket, and he knew what he was going to do. And the old man's like, I don't want to waste a lot of my bottle rockets on these bums. We're going to get them later on when it gets dark. So he climbs in off the roof, and we gather up all the tools and the beer bottle and all that crazy stuff. And we come down, and the old man starts cooking on the grill, and we're starting our celebration, and the fireworks will be on the TV later, and the Yankee game. And he would set a radio up in the window of the bedroom when he was cooking outside, and we're having a little picnic and barbecue out there, and he would listen to Yankee game over the radio, and he'd run inside if there was something he had to watch, a rerun, a replay of a home run or a great play or something. So great memories. He's got the hot dogs going, and Gramps and him are drinking beer and having a good time. I might have had a little sip of beer here and there when dear mom wasn't looking. And next door to us was an apartment house. We called it Charlie Jenkins' joint. And Gramps actually had an apartment there. At one time, my Uncle Ed, oh goodness, Uncle Dave and Aunt Ada, everybody had an apartment at one time in that apartment house. And it was owned by this guy, Charlie Jenkins. And Charlie was a tailor. He ran a tailor shop in the bottom of the apartment. And he owned it. And the apartment had, I don't know, maybe 10 apartments that lined and were close to our yard. And the farthest apartment, closest to Belmont Ave, was a woman there who lived there for years, Mrs. Goldberg. And Mr. Goldberg died, and Mrs. Goldberg was a widow, and she had an apartment right there. And she'd always read by her window. She'd turn a light on. She was a great reader, and you see her sitting in her chair at night with the light on, reading. And she'd always be right next to the window, maybe to get air, especially in the summertime. None of these apartments had air conditioning, and Charlie wouldn't put the window shakers in there. And I would see Mrs. Goldberg all the time. She walked to Temple on Saturdays, and she'd go to the food market, and she didn't have a car. She'd take the bus everywhere, up and down the city street, through the borough, and she walked to the food town. Sometimes when she was a very nice woman, and when I would see her with her groceries, I'd run over there and grab her bag of groceries, because a long flight of stairs, I can still see that apartment, had a distinctive wood smell too. And she lived up the top of the stairs, the first apartment on the right. And I would grab her groceries for her and, carry it up to her apartment for her. And sometimes she'd give me a quarter or a dime or something, but I didn't do it for the dough. And she'd say, Paulie, you're the nicest kid. That father of yours, though. That father of yours. My old man would cut the grass on Saturdays. And of course, she's getting ready to go to Temple, and he cut the grass on Saturday. He started at like 7 a.m. And she'd get all mad at the old man, open the window, and she'd say, Poor, why do you have to cut the grass so early on Saturday? You wake everybody up. And so she would actually yell at the landlord, Charlie, when he cut the grass too, because her windows are open and all the dust would go in there. So my old man always had wars with Mrs. Goldberg about various things. That's the first time I ever got invited to sit Shiva when she passed away. Dear Mom and I went over there. Her family invited us. I guess she said that I was a decent kid. My old man didn't go. Him and his lawnmower weren't invited. But Mrs. Goldberg would sit there in the window reading. So the old man had it all figured out. After the barbecue, after the Yankees, when it got dark, he had his skyrockets, you see? And he's like, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get these guys on Temple Hill. So when it got dark and fireworks were over on TV, we snuck out in the yard there. And the old man put the beer bottle. Now, the old man had quite a few beers at this point, So he put the beer bottle in he's wobbling a little bit, and he puts the bottle rocket, and he aims it over to Temple Street. Shoo, boom, and he sends over a bottle rocket. Nothing happened. So the old man's like, okay, give me another one. He had to load it. Shoo, shoo, boom, and sure enough, here comes a response. And the aerial warfare started again. These guys send one over, the old man sent 2 over, and then I had to get 3 beer bottles. You get the beer bottles, and we shoot 3 at a time. They shoot 4 at a time. So we're having this aerial war. My mother's getting more and more nervous. The police are going to come, Paul. You and Paulie need to come inside. And the old man's, no, I'm having a blast. And now he's drinking beer, and he's getting more wobbly. And the time came. The time finally came, and he goes and gets the skyrocket. And I was like, oh boy. And he's trying to get the skyrocket was heavier, you see, and he's trying to get it into the ground in the beer bottle. And he's digging the beer bottle deeper and deeper, and it's wobbling around. I said, Dad, maybe we should get something else, maybe a bigger can or something. Oh, don't tell me about that. This will be fine. I've been launching fireworks forever. And, of course, I always heard that. And he puts the skyrocket in there, and he's trying to aim it towards Temple Hill. And the beer bottle's not down. I was like, Dad, it's got to be deeper in the ground. We get a little shovel. I'm not putting holes in my lawn. And he gets the skyrocket in there. And it's wobbling around. I was like, I'm getting a bad feeling about this. And he lights the doggone fuse. And sort of kind of just like Ludlow Kissel. I don't want to give that story away if you go to read it. The beer bottle wobbles. And sure enough, after the fuse is lit, it tilts the wrong way. And it's aimed at the apartment house. And whoosh, up it goes. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And it goes up in its aerial arc and it turns. And because of the trajectory and the wobbly beer bottle, where does it end up? Right outside Mrs. Goldberg's window. Oh no. Baboosh. And the colors are popping and the explosions, and poor Mrs. Goldberg probably got knocked out of her reading chair. And the smoke and the old man's like, oops, Goldberg's gonna be. I was like, Mrs. Goldberg. And all the lights go on in the whole apartment house. And the smoke is in the air, and the old man's gathering his stuff up, and my mother's yelling, and the guys over on Temple Hill are now sending over even more aerial warfare, and the old man's like, we better get out of here. And Mrs. Goldberg opens a window, and Ada and Al and Mr. Kohler, everybody opened the window up, and they're like, we're calling the cops on you this year, Paul. This is ridiculous. And sure enough, we could hear the sirens coming. And the old man's like, gather everything up. And we gather everything up and we run in the house. And sure enough, the cops come. And they're like right at the foot of our driveway. And just by the grace of the ding-dongs over on Temple Hill, as soon as the cops are going to get out and they got their flashlights and they're going to look in our backyard, the guys over on Temple Hill send over more aerial warfare. And the cops point and they're like, oh, those are the guys. And they get in the car, the patrol car, and ride over to Temple Hill. So we escape. And the old man's like, those guys on Temple Street got in trouble and we got away with it. 4th of July. Great memories. Skyrockets, Mrs. Goldberg. Guy selling fireworks out of the trunk of the car. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. So, hey, that's it. You can read about this stuff in the summer collection, but great memories. And I really wish you and your families, to all the listeners, a very happy 4th of July. Don't set any skyrockets off and knock old ladies out of their chair. But have a safe and enjoyable 4th. I'm going to get back on the air for the 13 original colonies and get those last 3. And I just came across a great quote, and I want to end the podcast with this great quote. And Paulie doesn't get political, as you know, but this quote seemed to, summarize what the founding fathers were really trying to achieve. And Gramps used to say he was going to write a letter to the Queen and say, we made such a mess of this colony. Because, of course, being from Nottingham, England, he's like, maybe the Queen will take us back. I don't think he ever wrote the letter. But I came across this quote by George Washington, General George Washington. And Washington is the only president. He said he would serve as president, but he would not join a political party. He remained completely neutral, the first president. And George Washington's most famous plea for togetherness came from his 1796 farewell address, where he urged citizens to cherish their shared identity. Washington wrote and said, "The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellate derived from local discriminations." And what he's trying to say is Washington emphasized that despite minor regional differences, Americans were bound by the same political principles and should stand as one united nation rather than viewing each other as adversaries. And he always highlighted that hard-won independence was the result of joint councils and shared sacrifices. And I thought in this day and age of all this arguing and finger-pointing, that quote on Independence Day was particularly poignant. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a happy 4th of July. Hey, please be kind, be gentle, be very tolerant. Remember, kindness is for free. Spread it around as much as you can. It can only make this world a better place. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy from Paterson, New Jersey, whose old man used to knock old ladies out of the reading chair on Independence Day. Hey, we'll see you next time. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And bye-bye for now.